So the first thing for everybody is, as Daniela was talking, you might have heard her talk about how important it is to align the strategy, the business strategy, to the innovation strategy, right? And so the three pillars of what makes innovation real. The first one is, do you know where to innovate? Do you know when to innovate? Do you know the where, why, when? And this is called innovation strategy. In the case of companies like Klabin, it's very important. They are in the industry of paper, pulp and paper, and they're in the industry where they want to make sure that the future is bright and they're seen as a responsible company and they're sustainable and all that. But the strategy is lined around that. And then there's a second part of the pillar of making innovation a sustainable practice is you got to build capacity. And that capacity could be people. Are you training your people on how to take ideas to commercialization? Do you have a process for idea to commercialization? And Clubin has its own internal teams doing innovation projects. They also work with companies like IXL, where they have open innovation Olympics. And they have partners around the world who help them do innovation also. So they have resources. So capacity. You have the capacity to build teams to be able to take ideas to commercialization using a agile design thinking processes. And you heard Daniela talk about that. And then ultimately, the last part of this pillar to make innovation a management system, a discipline, is this idea of, is it a discipline? Do you really finish what you start? And one of the challenges of innovation is everybody has got lots of ideas. Ideas are easy, dime a dozen. What's hard is making them real. And you have to go push them forward. And to push them forward and finish what you start requires discipline, and requires discipline with pressure from the leaders saying, where are you? Are you making progress? How can I help you? It requires a certain behavior of people. The behavior of people is experimental. Do they do agile? Do they learn from mistakes? Do they work in teams? And then ultimately, you want to put some metrics in place, reward recognition systems to make that happen. And this innovation system, if you ask Labine or any great company on innovation, it didn't happen in one day. It took time to build these muscles. It took time to align the leadership strategy to the innovation strategy. It took time to build teams and people to make all of that happen. And that's what I want to share with everybody next is you need an innovation system that you want to build. But the problem is most people who want to build innovation systems think of it very much like somebody who says, I want to run a marathon. And they've never run a marathon before. And they say, I want to run a marathon. And they say, okay, I want to get to that high performance in a very short time. But the reality is, if you want to run for a marathon, you would follow the following steps. Spacebar. So whoever's got the slides, please hit the spacebar. Okay, not all of them. Go backwards, please. So you would first of all say, let's do it in a step function. And first run a 5 kilometers. So you can slowly build the muscles. You don't hurt yourself. You don't damage anything at all. And then you say, okay, now next year, let me try and run 10 kilometers. And now you build more muscle. You got more confidence. You are feeling good about your body and other things. And you say, okay, next year, I'm going to run, go ahead, spacebar, 20 kilometers. Now, that's great. Now, if you do that, now you actually are getting more confident of being able to do what you have to do. And then ultimately, you get into being able to run a marathon. Now, if you go approach it in a systematic way, instead of saying, I'm just going to run the marathon on day one, you reduce the injury of risk. You get a habit, sustainable habit in terms of what you're going to do because you've been practicing it every single day. You get a deeper base of fitness inside your body, which is not just your lungs, it's also your legs, your arms, your brain, the three different places where it's needed for you to be able to run well. And ultimately, you start enjoying with some experimentation because you try different things. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that this is exactly the same way people think about innovation systems, building innovation systems. They say, I want to build an innovation system. And they said, I want it now. I want all of it right now. I want to look like Apple. I want to look like the Tesla. And you can't just overnight build all the capabilities of what makes an innovation system. It takes time. You need to build an innovation strategy, the capacity and discipline. So in the same way as running a marathon, spacebar, You have to also think about how much of everything you got to do. So you might have a light version of innovation strategy, a light version of your capacity, and a lighter version of your discipline. And then you improve on that to the next level, spacebar, and you get a little bit bigger, a little bit more systematic. And then you go to level 3, and then ultimately to the level where you want to go to. And here's our guidance to everybody. You don't run a marathon just because you say you want to run a marathon. You got to build this capability. You've got to train your leaders about what innovation is. You got to train your managers on how to make it real. You got to make sure HR is helping you and supporting you. And to do all those things at the same time is too much. And you might even hurt yourself, and you will even burden the organization too much. And therefore, this is called putting one brick at a time and slowly building up in a systematic way. And this is, if you do this, you'll reduce the risk of failure, because if you try and do everything at the same time, it's too much. You'll build a stronger foundation because you can socialize at the right speed at which people can learn. And it's more sustaining as a transformation. It gives you a chance to even experiment. Just because you saw something work at Natura or you saw something work at 3M doesn't mean it's going to work for your company. You got to kind of customize it for yourself. So as a result, what we think also of this thing is the following: that a company should just probably think about assessing itself exactly as you would assess yourself for running a marathon. Where am I today? If you look at me, if I were to run a marathon, I'm taking an Uber. There's no way this body will ever run a marathon. Okay? But if I go see the doctor, I see a trainer, they'll say, well, if you run a couple of miles, you eat better, you lose some weight, then you might be better. And so I need an assessment, a health assessment, to kind of say what I need to fix. And then I have a list of things I can improve on. And then I start training. And that's called a punch list of things that I want to improve on. And then I can have an action plan. And after the action plan, maybe I will run 5 kilometers. And then I come back and assess myself again. And here the assessment, maybe this time my legs are strong enough, but my lungs aren't. Or my mind is not strong enough that I want to keep on quitting because it's not good for me. And on that assessment, I change the punch list of what I can do, and then I have a different action plan. In innovation, we have to do the same thing. We have to assess your company wherever you are. And then you ask, where do you want to go next? And the system that GIMI has put together is saying there's a level 1 or level 2 or level 3 or level 4. And the assess, stay back, please, on the previous slide. And so it tells you what the assessment, where you are. And then you ask, where do I want to go next? And that helps you create the punch list of things that you got to do to improve. And you also get a certificate along the way, whether it's a level 1 or level 2. And then you got an action plan which says, maybe in Clubin, you guys might want to do more training of certain people. An action plan could be that we might want the leaders to talk more about innovation. An action plan could be that we need to have more open innovation and more partnering with suppliers. It doesn't matter what the punch list is. You don't have to do everything. You do a few things which makes a difference. And you put that on your action plan and you get forward. In that action plan, you got to pay attention that you don't just build capability, you also need to get results. And then Daniela will tell you, if you try and build only capability, the senior managers will say, yawn, boring. But if you say, with this capability, we'll give you this results, now they get excited. Because business leaders only care about results. They will say, yes, we like capability building. They say that. What they want and need is results. And so you need to make sure in your action plan, not only are you building capability, are you also getting results. So let me just share on the next slide what I think is the idea over here. The idea over here is we have got a new standard that's about to come to the world. It's ISO. And ISO, when we compare it to the GIMI analysis, GIMI level 1, 2, 3, and 4, GIMI level 3 is the equivalent of ISO, which is going to go in the market next year. So any company which wants to get ISO certified or wants to assess an improvement plan should start the journey now and start maybe wherever they are, saying I'm level 1, how do I get to level 2? And what is the gap? And if I'm at level 2, what's my gap to get to level 3? And if you're at level 3, now you will be able to get your ISO certificate next year but you can get your GIMI certificate currently. And then after ISO, because the world keeps on changing, GIMI level 4 is already talking about AI, ecosystems, and other things that should make you a global leader. So with that, here's my summary to all of you guys. Everybody wants a world-class innovation management system. Everybody wants to be like Apple or Tesla or Natura or Klabin. Now, most of us are not there. And if you try and become that, you might hurt yourself going too fast. You might not have enough money, and you might even disturb the organization too much. So you got to go at a certain pace, a pace that allows you to keep on changing and improving fast, and yet slow enough that you do not create tension in the organization. So this GIMI level 1, 2, 3, 4 certifications is one pathway to do that. And the way to do level 1 to level 2 is you do an audit. The audit gives you an idea of where you are today and what your gaps are. And then you basically need to work. And usually the things that you need to improve, half of them, 3/4 of them, you can do yourself. And the other quarter might need some help from outside. And you decide where you need help or not, but the audit will give you a punch list and an action plan. And you need to keep on going on the journey. So with that, Arila, I just wanted to just set the stage up that Daniela at Klabin is probably a level 3 or level 4 organizations. They didn't start yesterday. They've been working on it for many, many, many years. And the experience they have is like a gladiator. They got cuts and beats, all kinds of challenges. And from there, they've learned a lot. And the best thing to do is get started and don't stop, but don't try and do everything at one time because it's a lot. And now I think we got a panel of speakers who are going to speak about what they've been using some of these techniques. And we're going to go next.
Great. Thank you very much, Hitendra. So the next part of this of today is this panel discussion where we are really glad that me and Hitendra will moderate. I'd like to first of all invite Marco Sanwan. Marco Sanwan is the Director of R&D and Innovation at Promigas. Promigas is one of the largest conglomerates focused on transportation distribution of natural gas in Colombia and Peru. They are becoming the leading player in the energy sector, and they are committed also to sustainability and social responsibility. Actually, we had the luck to have Marco also in one of the GIMI think tanks talking about what efforts they are doing in this sector. In terms of innovation achievements, they have a level 3 GIMI organizational certificate. They basically are the first ones in Latin America to create the green hydrogen for natural gas blending project. They have developed a strong strategy, basically, how they can transform the company from a natural company to an energy company. And the company has raised its standing from 66 in the innovation ranking to 12 in Colombia. So that's such a great achievement. And this was done only due to the efforts that they have been doing working in this building innovation management system, what Hitendra was sharing, and with the help of GIMI and IXL Colombia. And I'll invite also as the second one in this panel, Lieutenant Colonel Anwar Al-Nimer. He's the Director of Administrative Affairs at the Future Foresight Center from Dubai Police. As you might know, Dubai Police is the UAE police force, which has 15,000 highly trained employees, is globally recognized for its excellence in security, and it's a leader at local, regional, and international levels. They basically have been the first Arab police institution to implement DNA testing, electronic fingerprinting, clean desk policy. They have done 151 innovation projects. They have 118 awards received, 16 patents, a great number of trainees, basically, and they have the level 4. Only 2 companies have level 4, basically a GIMI certificate. So it means that they are ISO plus in that basically graph that Andra was sharing. And as well, they basically are a certified innovation assessor and have launched the first external platform for innovation. So glad to have you in this panel, both Lieutenant Anwar and Marco. And we'd like to start to share, like in these 15 minutes, these 3 important questions which are related to the previous speech that Hitendra did. So please, Hitendra, would you like to start with the first question? You are on mute.
So first, Marco, great to see you again. Marco's a great colleague and friend, and we've done some amazing work together and talking about science and technology, about green hydrogen in the future. Marco's absolutely a rock star on that front. So welcome. Anwar, we had a great time in the Philippines where we met. It was an honor and a pleasure to be with you guys when you guys received your award in the Philippines on stage at the Ayala organization. Thank you, Vince, if you're listening, for being the host for that. So, guys, we're gonna ask you a couple of questions, which basically, what triggered you guys to say we need to do an innovation audit for us to get a roadmap? What was the trigger point? Why did you? We know innovation was important. But why did you say we need to do an audit in order to understand where we are to improve? So we can start with Marco, and then we'll go to Anwar, and we'll switch roles on the discussion. So Marco, why don't you start first, and we'll get Anwar.
Yes, thank you, Tendra, and as always, it's great to see you and talk to you, and a pleasure to share the panel with Anwar.
And Marco and Anwar, both of you go do your pitch, share about your organizations also and what you're doing, so it gives you a little bit of a chance to talk about your organizations. So Marco, go ahead first.
Very good, thank you. So actually, we have done audits in 2 stages, and the first one leads me to Promigas. So when I came to Promigas in 2016, it was to start an innovation area, not only for the company, but for a corporation of, at that time, 12 other companies. So we started putting together pieces, a working plan, but it became evident after a few months that we needed a framework to sustain our effort. So investment that we were asking the core company to make had a clear pathway of implementation and credible goals. So that's when we did our first audit and worked extensively with the Colombia IXL team to put together our innovation system design. And at the same time, we were putting together an innovation strategy that had alignment with the current strategy and the future strategy, because we're an energy company. We're mostly natural gas, but any actor in the fossil fuel area is now wondering about what businesses are going to come in the energy transition. And then we put together a system of metrics, KPIs. We started monitoring them across all companies in 2019. And by 2021, it became evident that 4 of the 12 companies were falling behind. So we went back to the GIMI team and said, let's do an innovation assessment specifically for them. Don't look at the corporation, look at their specific reality. And you know what? After that, 2 of the companies have become top performers. They got an actionable plan. Their leaders committed to that. All of them have shown improvement, but 2 of them are probably top 3 or top 4 among the subsidiaries that we have. So it was for the design of the system as an initial stage, but also with the system running as a follow-up and having that third party looking with that expert eye on a specific company and giving them an actionable plan.
Thank you, Marco. Anwar, you have the floor. Same question. You're on mute, Anwar. I can't hear you. I think you are not on mute, but we can't hear you for some reason.
Yeah, there is a problem with the speaker.
You may want to check which speaker you're using or which microphone you're using. Can't hear you yet, Anwar. We're struggling still.
Maybe you try, Anwar, to step out and join again, or try also to join maybe from your mobile phone, just to use it for the speaker. We don't hear you. No.
So while Anwar is solving the challenges, we'll take a few minutes to fix whatever you have, Anwar. Erila, why don't you ask Marco the second question, and then Anwar can try and answer both questions together.
Marco, you started to show a little bit on the journey, right? How you what was the need to do an assessment, deploy an assessment, right? And you mentioned that you created an action plan, of course, with the help of the auditors. Now, what were the benefits of this innovation roadmap, basically, or blueprint that you created, and why was that important to help you implement actions? How did that basically hold you accountable to really execute?
So I think one of the key assets that any innovation area can have is credibility. And credibility comes from results. When we were starting to put together the innovation area, of course, the results weren't there. There had been innovations in Promigas for many years, but they were not systematic and they were not driven by a framework of operation. So I think the first benefit of having a roadmap is getting credibility by a validated model that's being used for many companies across the world to keep investing in innovation. So I would say that was a key value proposition for us, and one of the reasons of bringing a company with recognition, with experience in developing our business model. Now, I would say the second one is that things not always work as you plan. You can have a plan, you do the actions, but we are dealing with uncertainty on an everyday basis. So what that means is that from time to time, things don't happen. And when you don't have a framework, then you start just navigating in the dark. When you have a framework, you sustain your effort.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, Anwar, we can. We'll all go on mute just so there's no echoes. But go ahead, Anwar.
Okay. So you sustain your efforts, and that's also important because some of these things require multiple iterations for it to happen. And the same thing happened at the company level after the assessment and having that actionable plan. They were more confident in doing the things. Some of the things that were in the action plan, they would say, well, I knew we had to do them, but now you see them. Now you have reinforced the need for that to occur. And that drives discipline as well, because then you keep doing that over and over again and becomes part of how you operate.
Marco, thank you for that answer. Anwar, we're going to give you the floor now. And you can introduce Dubai Police, of course, and then talk about the power of a framework and the power of why an assessment that you guys did. So Anwar, you have the floor. We lost you again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. As a beginning, I would like to thank you for allowing us to enter this session. The sound is
do me one favor. Turn off your speaker on your laptop. Or we're getting an echo.
Now? Okay. Thank you for allowing me to join the session. In the beginning, for us as a Dubai Police, I think everyone knows about Dubai government, the way we are developed, the quick we are moving, and as our part in the government is to assure the people's safety and security. So we have to be so developed. You know, there is other party in our business, we call it criminals. They are trying to be much developed as we are. So we have three layers we have a big umbrella, we call it future foresight. Then comes the second level, we call it strategic level. The third level, which develops both of those, we call it innovation level. When we start anything new in the government, let's say the innovation, it's a must in our government. You have to be creative and you have to be innovative. So we done something we call it maturity test. here we've done an assessment. We've done a benchmark with GIMI. We started to do benchmark with GINI, with some companies like IBM, and another law enforcement organizations. So we've done a maturity test. During this test, there was a questionnaire, there was a physical assessment, there was something we call it positive assessment. It's like a consultancy job. We've done it. We realized where is our gaps. We call it knowledge gaps. We started to sort out those gaps, the importance of those gaps, the priority of those gaps. Why? As you said previously, Mr. HP, we need to start by quick wins. The quicker we are, the more innovative we are. So we started by something we call it knowledge projects. We finished the gaps. The most important gap we realized is the building a culture, because without a culture, you cannot start doing anything. In our organization, we are more than 20,000 employees. So we have to implement the culture, training, special trainings. We have to reach the 3 segments: the directors, executives, and the supervisors. It was really a big challenge, but alhamdulillah, we passed through those processes. Then we started to build our platform. Nowadays, without platform, we cannot do anything. One of our pillars in the platform was the idea pillar, where everyone can share their IDs, and there is a committee assessing those IDs, which one can be moved to the innovation, which one can be a normal ID, which one can be just a remark to be considered. Thirdly, we realized that the directors should be involved in this process. Actually, the innovation level came from the directors, not from the bottom. So it is from the top management. So our director or our commander, he was assuring to be a key player role in this part. He started to develop us in building the platform. We have innovation lab. Recently, I think your people visited our R&D lab as well, and we're still in phase 2 on the innovation. There is a lot on upcoming projects with the universities, even with the community, because we are, at the end of the day, we are a community service provider. Safety and security is a community service. So we are assuring that everyone will participate in our job. This is quick.
Yeah, that's great. So what I heard Marco and Anwar both say is, first of all, that there has to be some framework that allows you to think about the whole innovation management system, whether it's about foresight and strategy and innovation implementation, or whether it's innovation strategy, innovation capacity, innovation discipline. There's got to be a framework. And on that framework, if you do an assessment, you can see how well you're performing across each of the elements of strategy, capacity, discipline. So you can see gaps. And those gaps then tells you what the punch list is. But it's the action plan. It's the action plan that seems to be the more interesting thing at the end of all of this thing. So Marco, maybe Anwar, tell us about how you create an action plan for how to improve your innovation management system, or how is that action plan helpful in organizing the company to move in the same direction? Why is the action plan so important?
I think that it takes away the feeling that you're just doing one step and don't know what's next. So it works as a roadmap, and you can identify what are top priorities to be addressed, but you also know what comes next. And that's key when we're dealing with many different people in different organizations. In our case, as I said, it's about 12 subsidiaries that are part of our innovation management system. In each one of them, we're dealing with 5 or 6 individuals who manage innovation-related functions. Either it's promoting innovation, creativity, project management, KPIs, IP. So it's coordinating the effort of 50 people that we need to move somewhat in the same direction. So having a roadmap and identifying priorities allows to allocate resources because there are other things that the companies require other than innovation. So the roadmap allows to balance resources, but also, again, to plan ahead. And I think for the leaders of the different companies, it's not only important to know what the innovation team is doing, it's also important to know what the innovation team is aiming to do or is going to be doing in the future, because it allows them to actually manage the core innovation function.
Marco, it's very clear. The roadmap gives a confidence of what is next. It gives you that this one thing that we're doing right now is not a one-off. It's part of a bigger journey. And you could also ask for resources and teams to support you to build out the roadmap. Well, what about you for you, Anwar? How the action plan and the roadmap on where you are in January and where you'll be in December?
Okay, as I said before, we do not work without a plan. And since we are level 4 GIMI future foresight holder and also innovation level 4 holders, we never work without a roadmap. In future foresight and strategic plans and innovation, we have 3 pillars. We have to strictly go with it. First one is the upcoming priorities. We have to fill up our priorities. Secondly, the upcoming challenges. And thirdly, our initiatives. We have to stick to all those 3. Why? Because everyone should know what is our plan. Again, when we request for a funding, we request for a new future jobs or upcoming skills. When we need to do when we need to state any innovation projects, everything should be done as a roadmap. So everyone should know, from the directors, from supervisors, executives, they have to know what is our pathway in this job, in this organization. Otherwise, we are out of the track. There is a variation which we cannot control it. And by the way, we are doing assessment quarterly for all those 3, quarterly. Only for the future foresight, we are doing it once a year, just to see what is the future trends, future plans, future challenges. This we do it yearly, but for the remaining, we are doing it quarterly to assure that we are on the right roadmap.
Perfect. Anwar, thank you. Irila, question from the audience, perhaps.
Yes, we have a couple of questions from the audience, but I'll start with the last one, since I believe that is addressed to Anwar and Marco. So when you decided, Marcela is asking, when you decided to access the innovation maturity level certification, so to get the certification, right, from GIMI as a company, what were the reasons basically that led you to decide for this option, and how did you justify this to the senior management? And this is coming in particular for any chief innovation officer. How do they explain this to the top management?
If you will allow me, for me, it was very simple. When we would like to enter any project, we have to do a benchmark. We have to do a best practice study. We realized that GIMI was one of the top leaders in this field. So it was an opportunity with us to start working with GIMI. And the second opportunity, we realized that GIMI started to work with our government as an official partner, correct? As we meet back days in the Philippines, Mr. Hazawad Uzyu, he was our government representative. So we thought, Khalas, let's be pioneer in this field. And also the way you are doing assessment, your methodology, it was equivalent to our environment, internal environment. So it was a good opportunity for us to start doing those with GIMI. And honestly, we would like to continue with GIMI. There was a lot of companies, without telling their names, but GIMI was totally different than the others. And it was like our company, the same pathway.
Great, Anwar. Thank you. Marco?
So I was telling you, sorry, our innovation system is kind of junked, 6-7 years old. And one of the realities, I would say, of innovation ecosystems among companies is brand recognition. And when I was telling people that I was running innovation for Promigas, a gas utility, people would say, really? Do you need to innovate in gas utility? Especially because energy transition wasn't such a big thing in 2016 as it is now in Colombia or South America. And without ecosystem recognition, you don't get invited to the right projects. You don't get invited to submit proposals. You don't get invited to panels like these, to be honest. So we needed to show people that we were serious. We could have implemented the GIMI system without getting the GIMI certificate, just as you can implement any ISO standard without getting ISO certification. So the internal benefit was one question. We liked the framework and we were committed to putting the framework into place. But why did we pursue a certification by a third party? We wanted to tell the Colombian ecosystem of innovation, we are here and we're serious. And it's not just us saying that. So that was the driver for going from just implementing the framework to actually getting the certification from the framework. And to be honest, it worked.
And
Great.
just to elaborate for 1 minute, whoever wants to join GIMI organization, please try their training. The way they are doing training, the way they are asking people to graduate with a project, it's something we didn't find it with everyone. So whoever wants to join GIMI group, please try their training.
Maybe we can wrap up with this last question, Hitendra, which I believe is one of the questions we get mostly as GIMI. So the question actually is, how does GIMI overlap with ISO from topic aspects? You mentioned where does GIMI framework stands compared to ISO in terms of levels, basically. And we know that ISO provides the what, and GIMI framework provides the what plus the how you really can build this innovation management system. But does it overlap in terms of topics? Does GIMI framework cover all the topics that ISO covers? Can you shed a little bit of light here?
Sure, I'll jump in here. We are part of the ISO tag, which is developing the ISO standards, which will go out to the market end of the year or next year for certificates. And the mapping is quite accurate. I mean, they're clearly how to do innovation or marketing or whatever. It's not that magical. You need a strategy, you need capacity, you need people, you need processes, you need all that. So ISO has got similar one-to-one mapping. The challenge ISO has right now is to figure out how we can apply to small companies and big companies, because ISO is a lot of things that you got to check off. Hey, did you do this? The list is long. And so the jump from 0 to ISO will be a big jump. And so the guidance would be do level 1, 2 of GIMI, and then automatically get to GIMI level 3. In the case for Anwar and Marco, because they're already level 3 and level 4, they are already ISO ready. They just need to be audited, and the audit will say you're ready for a ISO certificate, and we'll have to write a check to ISO, and they'll get the certificate for it. But you get to level 3 and 4, you're 95% to 100% already there. And if you get to level 4, there will be things that you're doing that ISO is not going to ask you to do right now. The ecosystem building and developing the ecosystem. The Dubai police is trying to be the leader of other police ecosystems and help them with innovation also. They want to be the leader of innovation. And that's what part of the role of GIMI level 4 is. You got to lead and help others. Marco is driving that across his ecosystem also. So that's the only difference, I think. So there is a one-to-one mapping, but level 1 and 2 will not get you to ISO certificate. It's level 3. And level 4 will make you better than what ISO is going to tell you. And that's where all of you need to be. Everybody should try and aim for a level 4, because you cannot be the same. Benchmarking tells you what everybody else is doing. But you cannot just use benchmarking. Benchmarking catches you to the past. You got to overtake the benchmark. And Marco, Anwar are certainly doing that right now.
Okay, great. Look, I'll try to wrap up this just in case, because I know right now we are hitting 10 a.m. So some people might want to step out, and then I'll leave also the floor to some others who might have other questions. We will stay here also for a few minutes. I hope, Anwar, you can make it also another 5-10 minutes. But just to wrap up this session, as we mentioned, like GIMI has the assessment. We have upgraded this year. We have it in a software. If you want to have a demo, basically as a Chief Innovation Officer, we can walk you through this demo of of the assessments and how the innovation roadmap can look like, give any explanation how that does overlap with ISO. So please contact us on that and we can have a one-on-one conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Anvar, for being part of the panel. And thank you, everybody who was here today. I'd like to bring this to the end in terms of recording and broadcasting, but we'll stay here for a few minutes. Actually, Antonio has been working with Dubai Police in certifying them on future foresight. Antonio is from Alva Consulting, is our partner, which has brought the IP on future foresight, basically in GIMI. Antonio wanted to make a few comments on his work with Dubai Police. Antonio, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Sharila. Yeah,
Please
well,
spotlight him.
Sorry?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to, just share my experience, which was quite intensive working with Dubai Police. So I want just to say two things. First, of course, thank you very much for the conversation, all the speakers and Jimmy always. But a special, salute to Lieutenant Colonel Anwar, that we met a few times in their headquarters, and I've been working quite intensely, both in training and then in the review and the benchmark and the analysis. And to say that when I was there, I really felt that there were the ingredients, the commitment, also the eager to learn, to get the soft skills and the engagement, and also the structure at the same time. So it was quite impressive. And to tell you that, of course, the Dubai Police was also the first worldwide organization to receive the level 4 certification in future foresight, which was, I think, a landmark. And of course, it's always I think we learn a lot from their experience, because they were pioneers with us in that process. So that was what I wanted to just to share, and to thank you very much for the word. Thank you.
Yeah, guys, I have a question for all of our panelists who are here. Well, what is the thing in your action plans that are important components? When you look at your action plan, if you were to look at the different things that you have to do, how would you look at that action plan and say, don't do that one, but do this one? How do you prioritize which actions to do first, second, and third? And for all of you guys, for Marco, Anwar, and Daniela.
Okay, if you will allow me to start, for us, actually the most important point was, as Mr. Antonio, is to build a culture. The more we know, the more we can do. Even between level 3 and level 4, in both in innovation and future foresight, we realized that we have to know more and more and more. You remember when we've been at the stage collecting the certificates, directly I told you something. Our commander will ask us, what's next? What's next? So it means we have to know more and more and more. We have to do more and more and more. In our society, in our community, we have to work harder. We have to know more. It's like a brand name. Dubai is a brand name, correct? And we are one of the pillars who build this brand name. We cannot hesitate. We cannot play with our brand name. Why? The level we reached in innovation and future foresight and safety and security and knowing everything, or think about everything, we are proud to this level. But again, someone will reach it, if not soon, sooner. So we have to be more developed than the others. Especially in our field, there is always criminals. There is always people. We call it now. By the way, 80% of the upcoming crimes will be cyber crimes. So it means everything will be cybered. We have to be developed even in this pathway.
Excellent, Anwar. Thank you. Marco and Daniela?
Yes.
What I would say is what capture most value at the moment. So it's not a single recipe. Sometimes you have actions in your action plan that align with other needs of the companies. So whenever you get those synergies, we give priority to that. If it's something that is only serving the innovation system or the framework, then we look for long-term return. And as Anwar was saying, culture actions always have a huge payoff and very significant. But we try to look for synergies so that what we are doing can be beneficial for the regular business as well.
Got it. Daniela, for you, how do you prioritize your action, your punch list?
Yes. The main thing that I think it's important at this moment is connect the demand to results, the project to practical results. We are a 5 years old area, as you mentioned before. We have a process to be right here. And we work a lot with culture, organization culture. So I think at this stage, the best thing that we need to do is connect the projects to practical results and deliver this to the company, to the board.
That's great. So listen, what I'm hearing from this is when you do an assessment, you'll find gaps. On those gaps, you got to prioritize the right ones, not all of them, the right ones. And the ones you want to prioritize are the ones which move the needle. That's what I heard Anwar say and Marco say, and also Daniela, move the needle, deliver some results while doing the implementation of whatever you want to do. If you're moving into AI or you're moving into cybersecurity, it's a new skill set, something that you are not familiar with. So you got to do training, but training is not good enough. You need to also start solving some of the problems that you're seeing in parallel. So you got to move the needle. And so our philosophy is it should be prioritize those things that move the needle, that the boss will notice. And at the same time, make sure it's easy for you to implement, low cost, or you have a partner to do it. If you're a partner, then you can get started immediately. But you got to prioritize in that sense. Very good. Guys, I don't want to take up any more of your time. How about just give you guys each the last minute? What is your guidance for anybody, any other companies, any organization which wants to drive innovation? What's your advice in how to get started, or if they've started, how to get better? And we'll go in reverse order. We'll do Daniela, then Marco, and then Anwar.
Well, from my side, I think all the team needs to be patient and be resilient, because innovation process requires that. We need to learn a lot. We need to convince people. Sometimes the projects don't have a result that we expected. Many times, I would say. So we need to insist, to be resilient, to have a patience with the process.
Daniela's talking about explorers like Christopher Columbus or the people who crossed the Amazon forest, and you don't know the journey, you don't know how to do what you're doing, but you need to keep on experimenting, grit, and all that kind of stuff. So perfect, Daniela. Marco, what's your advice for the people listening in?
Right leadership, right people, and right resources. Do not avoid the resources discussion. Don't tiptoe around it. There are resources needed to have an innovation system running, and trying to be nice and politically correct doesn't always lead to getting the innovation function in the organization, the resources needed to achieve expectations.
So the innovation framework must have a component for leadership, a component for the rights of teams and people, and then ultimately the resource allocation to be able to do it right. So the framework must include that. Anwar?
My advice during our experience, never stop doing the assessment. Always be mature, because the assessment, it's like a roadmap. You will know what is your projects. Are they still valid or they are expired? Your skills, as my colleague said, your fundings, where you are from the world. The world is full of challenges, and those challenges will be changed from day to day, correct? The more we are doing assessment, the more we are assuring we are in the correct track.
Excellent. So, guys, I want to thank all three of you. We had a speaker, Daniela, from the leading pulp and paper company in the world. They are the most sustainable company out there, and we got lots of insights from them. We had that was Daniela Liel. We had Marcos San Juan, who talked about innovation in a leading gas and distribution company in the world, in Latin America at least, and they're leading the market in that particular place. And then we have Anwar Al-Nimir. I should call him Lieutenant Colonel and all the right titles, of course, but he's also a friend. And so Anwar is what I'm going to call you. He's leading an organization which is the police of the future, and they're creating solutions that makes us feel safe and secure and protected, and in an organization we don't think about. And they are basically making every day that you guys go by and your day is not affected by some crime. It's because of these guys. They're providing safety and security. So when we don't see them, they're great. So with that, I just want to say three great leaders, three different countries, all driving innovation, management, and all saying similar things in terms of what we have to do next. So please reach out to them, ask them questions, and we will invite them back again to this event. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, audience, for paying attention to the GIMI think tank. And we'll continue bringing in new insights, which will help you make innovation real wherever you are. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, we're
It's
gonna
our
stop
pleasure.
recording now. And that's it, guys. We're free for all.